and welcome to the first ever ICA podcast. I'm Steve Prines, and I'm the course author and instructor for our home inspection training program. If you're listening to this podcast, you're probably thinking of becoming a home inspector, and you're no doubt wondering if this is going to be the right career path for you. Not surprisingly, this is one of the most common questions we get, so I thought it would make a great topic for our first podcast. It's not easy to decide to change careers. There's obviously a time commitment to learn the new career, and there's a financial commitment. And certainly, no one wants to spend a lot of time and money getting retrained to do something else only to find out that you don't like it, or you don't feel you're good at it, or it isn't what you thought it would be. Well, first of all, everybody's circumstance is a little bit different. And I have to say that everybody that I'm aware of in the home inspection industry, anywhere in the United States, every one of us came into the business from some other career or some other industry. Nobody goes through high school and becomes a home inspector when they graduate when they're 19 years old, and obviously there are no college degrees for home inspection. I suppose there might be a few people that became home inspectors when they're 18, but I'm certainly not aware of them. So this industry is dominated by people that worked somewhere else, they got laid off, or they got tired of that job. They just want to take matters into their own hands. You know, that's a common thing right there. A lot of people have gotten either laid off or close to being laid off, and that's a feeling you don't like. I'll tell you, if you've ever gone through that, I certainly did. I have a degree in construction management. The last job I held before I started my own business in home inspection, I worked for a hospital architect. I was a project manager. I worked in downtown Chicago. I lived in the Chicago suburbs. I took the train to work every day. Most of our clients were in the downtown Chicago area or fairly close, where we would end up taking a cab and we went out to see the clients. So I didn't need my own car. As I said, I took the train every day. Well, there'd been a couple of layoffs at this firm over the past couple of years, and rumors are coming around that there's going to be yet another layoff, a third layoff. So because I was taking the train, I thought, well, this firm's gotten a lot smaller since I've been here. I'm probably going to be one of the next to go. So I started taking things home on the train every day, a little bit at a time, so that, you know, when the shoe dropped on me, I wouldn't have to go back into the office with a couple of boxes and clean everything out. I figured I'd just be ready for it. So every day I took a couple items from my desk that would fit my briefcase or in my pocket. And over the course of a week or 10 days, had my desk pretty well cleared out of all my personal possessions. Well, that layoff came and went. Probably about another 10, 15 people got laid off because it was a pretty big firm. But I didn't get laid off. Now, obviously, that's a good thing, but I made a decision right then and there that that was not going to happen to me ever again, that I was going to take matters into my own hands. And that is a very common thread for people that go into home inspection. We tend to be people that want to be in control of our own destiny. We want to be our own bosses and do things our way. And that's one of the great things about being a home inspector. There is a standards of practice that you should be following, which defines what your job is, what you do, and what you don't do. But there's also a fair amount of leeway. Many home inspectors go above and beyond the standards of practice, trying to do a really good job for our clients. And that's another common thing for home inspectors. We all want to do something that we feel is really useful. Home inspection is never boring. Yeah, absolutely. You know, if you do 3 or 4 pretty much new houses in a row, you know, a year old or 2 years old, yeah, there's not a ton of defects there. Although there can be some, and you may or may not be surprised how poorly built a lot of homes are. But in any case, every house is going to be different. Every client is different. You know, sometimes you're going to like your client. Sometimes you won't like your client. That's okay. You know, when you work for a company, if you don't like a coworker, you probably have to spend 8 hours a day with that coworker. In a home inspection, if you don't like your client, well, you know what? You're going to be all done with them in 2 to 3 hours. Another nice thing about going to the home inspection business, you don't need a lot of money to get started. You're going to need a few $1,000s. You don't need 50,000 or 100,000 or 1.5 million. That's the kind of money you need to start a restaurant or to start a retail operation. Lots of overhead, lots of money for the startup, lots of money at risk. Once you get through the training, and if you're in a licensed state, once you get your licensing, you're ready to go after you just spend a little money for the proper tools and equipment. And again, that costs hundreds or a couple $1,000s. It doesn't cost $50,000. So, I got into home inspections, as I said, because I wanted to take matters into my own hands. And as I looked at all these things that I've been discussing, I felt that the home inspection industry met all this criteria for me. It wasn't going to be boring, and it met my skill set, at least a lot of my skill set. Now, another common myth I want to address is that you need to have a background in construction to be a good home inspector. That's not true. Any reputable training program, including ours, will teach you everything you need to know to get yourself started. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to be a great home inspector from day one, but in any training you do for any profession, you're not going to be great at it from day one. You have to get experience, and you have to basically just learn in the field. And that's the same for home inspections as it is for medicine. No medical doctor that goes through medical school and does a residency in a hospital is going to necessarily be a great doctor at that point. But after they get 10 or 15 years experience, then they're pretty darn good doctors. It's the same with home inspections. I thought I was pretty good when I did my first fee-paid home inspection. After I did 100 of them and looked back at my very first report, I thought, oh my gosh, this is terrible. That's how it's going to be. There's a learning curve. You can't be afraid to get started in something. You need to be eager to get started. You need to be excited to get started in something else. Learn all that you can and do the best possible job you can every single day. Another common concern for people thinking of going into this industry is, are they too old? The oldest home inspector I know is, I believe, 74, and he's still going strong. He doesn't do 2 or 3 a day anymore. And I got to tell you, 3 home inspections a day for anybody is quite a bit, even for a younger man. It's pretty common for home inspectors to do 2 a day. This gentleman does 1 a day, or he does 1 every couple days, but he's 74. He's not dependent on it for his full-time income. He's largely retired, but he's been doing it for many, many years. Some people are afraid they might not be in great shape and they won't be able to do a home inspection. Well, home inspections aren't incredibly physical. You're mostly walking around. You are on your feet for a good 3 hours. Many home inspectors go on roofs. And that's another common question. Do you absolutely have to go on every roof? No. The standards of practice from the 3 major home inspection professional associations all allow the home inspector to decide if they feel the roof is safe for them to go on. So there's no requirement to go on every roof. And in those states that have licensing for home inspectors, again, there are no requirements for home inspectors to walk roofs. So that's going to be up to you. Now, obviously, if you can get on a roof, you're going to do a lot better job for your client, but there are some roofs that are just too steep. So we don't necessarily have to go on roofs. Now, another common question when you're thinking of going into the home inspection business is, can you make any money doing this? Can you make a lot of money? Yeah, you can. Fair amount of home inspectors, I'd say 20% of home inspectors, 30% of home inspectors maybe, are part-timers. They have another job, maybe a full-time job, and they do home inspections in evenings and weekends. But the majority of home inspectors are trying to do this full-time. And I'm going to be honest with you, not every one of them is incredibly successful, but that's like any other business. Think about the area you live and look at how many times you see some business open in a strip mall only to see that business close 2 or 3 months later or 5 months later. It's not going to be any different in the home inspection business. We do have our share of failures. The biggest single reason why people fail at home inspections is because they don't know how to market themselves, and they just weren't committed to it from day one. If all the things I've talked about here so far appeal to you, the idea of controlling your own destiny, being your own boss, doing something that's really useful, protecting your client from safety issues, protecting them from expensive repairs, or at least opening their eyes to the fact that they're going to have some expensive repairs in a home. I mean, these are very useful things. I can honestly tell you that every home inspection I ever did, I went home feeling really good about myself, that I did something really useful for somebody. So, I mean, if that's the kind of thing you're interested in, you just have to give it the commitment to make a go of it. And that's half the battle in making money, when you're firmly committed. One of the most common places that home inspectors receive referrals is from real estate agents. So yes, many of us do market ourselves to real estate agents. Now, some of you are probably already getting a little nervous about that. Ooh, I can't do sales. Well, one of the nice things about the ICA training program is that we give you a complete marketing program as part of the overall training program. We're not going to just leave you stranded out there on your own, not knowing what to do. And our marketing is very specific. It covers both marketing to real estate agents, and if that's not your cup of tea, which, by the way, it's not as hard as you might think. It's actually pretty easy. But if you just don't feel that's for you, we also talk about other ways to market yourself, things that we call grassroots marketing and social media marketing. Home inspectors are getting a lot of business these days through social media marketing. So there's a lot of sources of business, and as far as how much money you can make, in all seriousness, I know home inspectors making six figures by themselves without any employees. They are making six-figure incomes, and that's their gross. But there's not a ton of expenses in home inspections. You can probably figure on taking 2/3 of your gross home with you. So that would be after taxes. So if you're grossing six figures, can you net six figures? Yeah, I do know some guys that are doing that. There's a lot of guys and gals in the home inspection business that are making a high five figures. So how much money you make really is up to you. How much effort you put into marketing, how you choose to market yourself. But again, marketing is nothing to be afraid of. So just to kind of close out the marketing portion here, yes, we do teach you how to market yourself. I would not let a fear of sales keep you from trying to get into the home inspection profession if all these other things appeal to you. The desire to be your own boss, to do something useful, to really help people out, to do a job that's never boring. If those things appeal to you, don't let the marketing end of it stop you. I know many home inspectors that have absolutely no sales backgrounds whatsoever, and they are very successful home inspectors. And that includes some of those individuals are talking about that are grossing six figures. Well, that about covers today's topics. I certainly hope we've answered some of your questions. But if we didn't get to all of your questions, just give us a call or shoot us an email. Thanks a bunch for listening to the ICA podcast.